I think no matter who you are, someone's always going to criticize you. You're not going to make everyone happy. And I think if you're trying to make everyone happy, you're not really being true to yourself.
This is KBcast.
As a primary target for ransomware campaigns,
is security and testing and performance and scalability.
Risk and compliance.
We can actually automate that.
take that data and use it.
Greetings of the day. Wherever and whenever you're tuning into this episode of KBcast, we're absolutely thrilled to have you on board. And joining us today is one of my dearest friends, a formidable force in the technology and cyber world, an investigative journalist with a sharp eye for uncovering stories, an influential podcaster with an impressive record of over 200 podcast episodes, making her an authority in the art of conversations, and the founder of KBI, a cutting-edge media and marketing enterprise specializing in cybersecurity, Karissa Breen, aka KB. KB, thanks for joining us today as we welcome you to your own show.
Well, thanks for having me, Jay. What a lovely intro. It's nice sometimes when people say things like you just said about me because it doesn't happen very often.
I know. How does it feel like to be a guest on your own show?
It feels nice. It does feel a little bit weird because I feel like I'm going to be doing more of the talking and maybe that makes me nervous. But it's strange. I've only done it once before. So Kavika interviewed me years ago. It's the only ever time that I've been a guest on my own show. So this is the second time in 200 plus episodes by the time this is released.
Well, rest assured, you're going to have a good time and you've got this in the bag. Kebi, now you and I have known each other for over a decade, and reflecting on our times together as colleagues at the Big Four bank, you've come such a long way since then, establishing yourself as a LinkedIn top voice in technology and a prominent brand in the media and marketing industry with a particular focus on cybersecurity. How has the experience been, and how have your earlier experiences shaped you into who you are today?
So you are right. It's been about a decade, which is weird because I feel that it feels so long ago, but then at the same time, it doesn't. I remember you sitting behind me and you running through your spreadsheet about following someone up about compliance or something. But that does feel more like a fleeting memory now. And it's interesting because I've learned so much. I learned so much even back then working Big Four Bank, but then also the other jobs and roles that I've done post that, but even more so in the last 6 years now of running my own thing. It's been a lot, Jay. It's really challenged me in places that I didn't even know existed. I feel grateful. I feel that my watermark for stress and resilience is up there more than ever before. And I say that each year. So as each year progresses, I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to take more stress this year and more this, more that. Because every year that you're doing this type of work, you can handle more and you're sort of, you've got that resiliency behind you to be able to deal with that. And it's something that, I don't know, I just started this thing and now it's growing and it's going to continue to grow and evolve, and it's wild and crazy at the same time.
Well, you said it right. You need a lot of personal resilience. Now, starting your own podcast platform, KBcast, and founding KBI must have been a drawing leap of faith. Can you maybe walk us through initial stages of building your brand and how you navigated through the uncertainties and doubts at the time?
I think maybe it's not like I'm surprised by how far I've come because I feel like I've still got so far to go. I feel like I'm only just scratching the surface. That's true. But then at the same time, I wake up, I'm like, I don't even know how I got here. How am I actually doing this? And I think there was definitely naivety on my side, being relatively young and not really knowing what was involved, which I want to get into a little bit later. But I think because I had that naivety on my side, it meant that I wasn't worried or scared or just sort of, had this leap of faith of saying, I trust myself, I trust my ability, I trust my hard work, and just to see how far I go. And I've, survived all of these things, whether it's COVID or the recession or, most companies never make it past 12 months, let alone 5 years. And I've been doing 6 now in very tough climate as well. And I think that it's something that now I know that I've seen so many different challenges, and it's Will it get easier? Probably not, because knowing me, I'll take on something else. But then at the same time, it will get easier because I've learned so much and I've had to deal with so much over these last 6 years. What I established, which I still own today, is KBI.digital, which used to actually just be KBI. And it's a Marcoms agency. And I thought, well, I had a bit of a brand, but definitely not to the same level that I have today. So I thought, well, what's something that I can get people to talk to me without, trying to sell them anything. So I thought, well, why not just start a podcast? And that was back when podcasts weren't near as prolific as they are today. There wasn't really many people that had podcasts. Admittedly, I wasn't doing it to the same level as I'm doing today in terms of consistency, but I also had to figure it out. Didn't really know what I was doing. And I was like, well, this is the way I've got to go forward in order to build a brand, because brand takes time. And it's something that people need to understand when they are building a brand. So for me, I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it for the long haul. I'm not going to do it as a bit of a flash in the pan. I'm going to go take this all the way. And of course, back then it was only very sporadic, but now I know it's very consistent and we're going to keep improving it, and we will be improving it definitely post episode 200. So for me, it's something that I think I'm known for now, but I want to be known for more.
Well, thank you for that. And you and me both know building a brand can take a lot out of you. It requires a lot of hard work, dedication, and resilience. And it's so important early on to be very clear about who you are and where your passion lies. And not just that, it is also about the ability to share that in a way that resonates. So how do you balance the demands of running KBI, hosting KBcast, and being there for your friends and family while continuing to focus on personal health and well-being?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. And I think it's, do I really know who I am? I don't know if anyone really gets there to be like, oh, I really know who I am. But I can tell you that I definitely know who I am more now today than I was 5 or 6 years ago. But I think that your brand evolves and you need it to evolve. You don't just sort of wake up and say, oh, okay, I've got this brand, but I don't need to maintain it. And it's something for me that once you establish a brand, you've got to stay at that level. And that's where I think people either don't get to that level because they're like, I've done 3 things and nothing worked out for me, because it takes a lot longer to build that brand. But then also sustaining that position. And that's the part where I do see people over time sort of fall down. Like, for example, you'll hear about some actress or some singer and then they're really good for a while. Then you just never hear from them ever again. They just sort of drop off the face of the earth because they haven't maintained it and they haven't sustained it. But also you need to evolve what you're doing, because now more than ever, things change daily. So you can't be like, what I was doing 4 years ago is going to be the same, because you've got to stay at that position. And that's something that really drives me. And as soon as you get comfortable, you're like, well, we've got to change it up. We've got to get to do something else. We've got to be uncomfortable again. And I think that's something that is worrying for people. But to go back about balancing it, look, there are days, I'm a human being like anyone else. Some days I feel I'm really all over it. And some days I feel like, oh, I don't think I've accomplished anything today, or things have gone wrong. You've got to deal with them. I didn't sort of plan that in terms of, my contingency plan. It's part of life. And for me, I think that one thing that's really carried me forward is just like not sweating the small stuff. Because when I look back to when I wasn't doing this stuff, the stuff I used to worry about just doesn't matter now. Like, I wasted so much time on stuff that really doesn't matter. So for me, it's about, does this experience, is it going to impact me, that whole 5 seconds, 5 months, 5 years? The answer is usually no, but it also keeps me in check of my emotions as well, because often our emotions can run wild and then that controls us. I'm pretty good at stabilizing my emotions, and I'm pretty good at, even being in quite stressful situations, at being quite level-headed. But again, that takes time and experience and tough circumstances to have that level-headed approach constantly. But in saying that, I have my days. I have my days where I have a breakdown and I feel I can't do it and I doubt myself. And that is a very real thing, that I'm not always as confident as I appear on the outside. I have those moments of, is this right? Have I just wasted 6 years for nothing? I have those very real thoughts, and I don't know if enough people are sharing those. That's what's very important about this episode today, because it's not all rainbows and smiles. It's a hard road and it's a tough road.
Well, that's so true. How do you shield yourself? So the question is more around, how when you have a bad day, but at the same time, you've got to stay strong, or once you've had a day when you're just doubting your own ability or you're being questioned on the value that you bring. But at the same time, you've got to stay strong. And when you're having a phone conversation with a friend who just picks up the phone, dials you, and then tells you, how's your day been? Are you then being honest to them, sharing what you've gone through, or are you just being strong to them?
I think as a person, I'm naturally quite stoic. So sometimes people couldn't really ever tell if I was having a bad day. Sometimes it does shine through. I think it depends on the friend, and also depends on. I don't like burdening people with a problem. So if I'm like, oh, it's okay. Sometimes I will steer clear of it, but sometimes I know that, and this is a lesson I've had to learn, that I can't do everything myself, and asking for help is okay. So for me, it's something that I've had. That's a learned skill. I'm just naturally someone who doesn't lead with how I'm really feeling, even if I feel stressed. It's that swan on the top, but then my little feet are going underneath. But in terms of how you balance that, I think that I just go, you know what, tomorrow's a new day. The sun is going to rise again. Because for someone who is very militant about doing things, as I've been told, getting the best and being the most productive every single day is really important to me. But then the other side of it is, okay, well, that's okay. I'll pick up the slack I didn't do today and I'll do it tomorrow, because the sun is going to come again tomorrow. And I think that sometimes I just check out and say, I'm going to park this and I'm going to pick it up tomorrow. And that whole theory of sleeping on it is a real thing, because when you're tired, it's the end of the day, you're stressed, you're emotionally wrung out, all those things add into potentially making a bad decision. So for me, I now know what my triggers are, and that's taken years to know. Everyone's got their own trigger points on what that is, and I can start having that self-awareness and catching myself saying, oh, I'm getting stressed, oh, I'm getting very emotional about this problem. I need to step away from it and then revisit it.
Well, fantastic. You said it right. Tomorrow is a new day and sun will rise and shine again. Now, to that again, I've always looked up to you and admired your strength, resilience, and determination throughout your career. And I know that through your journey, you've undoubtedly faced both triumphs as well as challenges. Can you point to a pivotal moment when you had to summon your resilience to overcome obstacles? And did that experience shape your approach to setbacks?
Yeah, I think all the time, Jay. Like, all the time. Because you're constantly thinking about, okay, I've got to deliver these projects, I've got to make sure the team are delivering, or I've got to make sure that I keep my mental health in check. Like, there's so many things each day that you're balancing, and to make sure that am I being challenged? Yes, of course, makes sense. When people are paying you money, they're going to want to they want to see like results. They want to see that you can do the job. I think that's changed over the years. Is there a point? There's many of them. I have felt for the first few years, people maybe didn't expect me to go as far as I have gone, perhaps. I mean, there was nothing that was sort of tangible to that. It was more a feeling. I think people expected me to be more of a flash in the pan, but I haven't, and I've shown up. And I can even tell you today, there are conversations with people like years later saying, oh, I've been following you for years, and, I can see that you've shown up every single day and you've had that tenacity and that temerity on your side. But there's been so many instances, Jay. I've always felt, oh, I'm not good enough. There's that in the back of my mind. I've always felt I've come short right at the 11th hour. Or, hey, Chris, you're really good, but. Hey, this is really good, but. I had a lot of those. Now, I think we still get those because, again, not everyone wins every deal, for example. And I think that there are times where people have not done the right thing by me and as business people. I would say that isn't as common as what maybe I expected. I would say most people are quite good, but there definitely have been bad dealings with people in my business that absolutely have been unprofessional, absolutely done the wrong thing in order to favor themselves. But then there's something that a really good friend of mine who Shannon Sedgwick's always led with is law of reciprocity. And it's something that I engender that into the business that I do today, that I will do right by someone no matter what, even if they don't do right by me. And it's something that I hold myself to, I hold my team to, that we will always do the right thing no matter how the client is. And it's something that is hard because you start to question yourself, like, well, what did we do wrong? And sometimes it's nothing. Sometimes you just get bad people, and sometimes you just get difficult clients.
Kemi, so you mentioned about challenges. You mentioned about having constantly dealing with expectations of people thinking that you're just a flash in the pan. You mentioned about keeping mental health in the check. Maybe throughout the journey, do you want to talk a little bit about the triumphs, the days when you've actually felt that I'm glad I started on this journey?
Yeah, and look, it's not all bad. I just try to illuminate that it's not always good either, and it's something that, and maybe less so in recent years around the glorification of being an entrepreneur. But yeah, look, I wake up, I have a really cool job. I get to talk to people for a living. I get to host their roundtable. I get to be at their events and represent their brand. I get to sit in a studio and interview people. I get to look at content. That's a pretty cool job to have, and it's something that I invented. This stuff wasn't around. I invented this thing. And that to me is really, really cool. And that to me is, I can actually say I really do love my job. There are days I absolutely hate my job. That's anyone. But I also feel really grateful that I've got this opportunity to do things that I like and that I love and that I'm passionate about and I'm driven. And that's something that gets me up out of bed every day. As tired as I may be, I'm still up every single day. I'm up here, out here doing this stuff. And I think it's something that's really important to anyone, whether what job you're doing, but even more so as an entrepreneur.
So true. I love the idea of how every job has a good and bad day, but you've got a cool job because you've invented the role, the title, the organization for yourself. You can move as fast 1,000 miles an hour if you want, or slow down if you wanted to, because nobody else is setting any expectations for you. It is you yourself setting expectations for yourself.
But that's the part where you got to be driven, right? So someone messaged me the other day, they're like, saying they're in business, they're like, oh, I feel not motivated. I'm like, well, if you're not motivated now and you've barely started, you better find some motivation, because no one's calling you up saying, hey, KB, why weren't you at the meeting? I'm the one doing that. I'm the one checking in. Are the team doing what they're supposed to be? So if I don't have any motivation and I'm not practicing what I preach and leading, then who else is going to do it? Everyone else can be like, oh, well, KB had a day off today, so can I. No, I've got to be working harder. I've got to be setting the example. And I think this is something, there's this dissonance between people thinking, oh, I'm my own boss. And I have never worked as hard in my life, Jay, as then doing this. Like, I'm like to the bone. So this whole thing about, oh, I'm going to be my own boss, and someone said to me one day, I'm not going to be working as hard. I don't know what planet you're on, but it's not this one, because you'll be working double what you're doing, harder, longer, because you care, because the buck starts and stops with you. When you're working for other people, at the end of the day, you can always quit and you can always go home and it's not really your responsibility. But it is in my business. People are going to be calling me if someone does something wrong.
That's so true. Now, you keep inspiring so many people, including myself. But throughout your journey, who would you say has been your greatest inspiration?
I would say a lot of people have, because they have inspired me just even talking to them, even a random person that I met in a meeting. I like to always look at the positive with people and learn something from each individual person. They don't have to be some Bill Gates or something like that. They can be someone who is just starting out their career, but they've given me something that does inspire me and gets me to look through a different lens, which I'm appreciative for. But if I had to boil it down to anything, I would say my parents, because they've never doubted me once about this business that I went into. I basically said, look, I'm going to invest all my savings and I'm going to go into this. They weren't like, well, you can't do that. They were like, okay, how can we help you? How can we support you? We believe in you. And I think that those are words, as I've aged, that other people don't get from their parents, which is really disappointing. So I don't know whether they've given me this strength or whatever it is. And I think, yes, you're definitely born with it. But they've always said, you can do whatever you want to do. And whatever I wanted to do, they're like, okay, how can we help? How can we support you? They were never setting doubt in my mind. So I think that I've been grateful, even growing up, that I've had this acceptance, but also this this force behind me to continue doing what I'm doing. And I know that everyone, I mean, you would know, Jay, obviously, you grew up in India. It's even bigger there. Like, you want that acceptance from your parents. So for me, I'm so grateful for that. And that they've taught me a lot about working hard and showing up and doing the right thing by other people. And I think that that's rare, actually, to get really good characteristics and really good values and traits. And I think it's important, not that I am a parent, but engendering those characteristics into your children is really, really important because they carry that through their whole life. So for me, I'm grateful to have had parents that have believed in me and do believe in me and always ask how they can support me and have always said, no matter what happens, you will get through it and you will do it. And they always, and my dad have always said, never, ever, 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 ever give up. So there's times when I'm like, I've really wanted to give up and said, that's it, I'm done. And there's been multiple times of those. I thought, no, I'm going to stick it out. I'm going to keep going. And even if I'm moving 1 inch forward, I'm still moving forward.
That's so true. And you're so right. Our parents are so important in our lives in terms of engendering the right sort of characteristics and also motivating us and then believing in us and then putting the right words, saying the right words, such as you can achieve anything that you put your minds to. I think these sorts of things would help us not doubt ourselves and be our favorite cheerleaders. I think that's just so important. Now, let's talk about or delve into the aspect of strategies that you probably lean on to bounce back while you're going through tough times or when you're going through something doesn't go your way. What are the strategies that you use to bounce back from that situation?
When I feel really stressed is one day at a time. So don't think about what's going to happen in 6 months. Just do, got to get through today. And then the sun will rise tomorrow, got to get through tomorrow and just focus on that day. When I feel really overwhelmed, which there are moments, I mean, it depends what's happening in my personal life. Like I still have my own personal life, depends how much sleep I got, depends what's going on in my world at that point. So sometimes I may be more stressed than other points in my life. And there are external factors which add to my stress. But I think just saying, whatever I've got to do today, just focus on that. Don't, because then you start feeling overwhelmed and you start having this anxiety that creeps in because you're worried about 6 months. So much can change. Every day, I don't know who's going to call me, who's going to email me, who's going to message me on LinkedIn. Every day it changes. But that's what also gets me excited about each day as well. And there's been opportunities that literally came from nowhere that have changed what I've done. And I'm grateful for those experiences. But in terms of what I fall back on, I think basic stuff. Stepping away from your phone. And for someone who is, apparently I'm addicted to my phone, there's probably that element of it. Knowing that, trying not to compare. We have this thing as human beings, we're comparing, and knowing that we're just getting the highlights of someone's life. Trying not to compare where they are in their journey. That's something that I've had to come to the realization now over the years. I also think sometimes doing very basic stuff, literally, even if it's 10 minutes, I'm going to have some time out or call someone that isn't in my field of work that I can just enjoy and laugh with. Because sometimes just to get out of your own head a little bit and then come back to it. And again, I've conditioned myself to know when I'm getting in that headspace, but that's taken a long time. So I'm probably better at it. Well, I'm a lot better at it now than I have been historically. But these things are hard. I'm not saying that these things are easy. And I don't think if someone says, the whole basic, go for a walk, everyone says that. But I don't know if it's anything specific. I think it's a combination of those things. Like I'm someone, I wake up a lot in the middle of the night. I wake up a lot, which impacts sometimes how I can think. So when I get a really good night's sleep and I don't get woken up, I feel like amazing the next day. I'm grateful for those things. It could be that I'm not going on my phone. It could be I'm not working in a different time zone so I can actually finish work or not start work as early because I'm not working in another time zone. So those little things add to that overall impact of the strategies of how I bounce back.
That makes sense. Now, again, I think you mentioned something about not being able to sleep well. Let's just say that you've had a day when you've woken up and you know that you barely managed to get a couple of hours sleep. And it's an important day when you've got a couple of interviews that you've got lined up, you're recording a few, you're speaking to your team. In those days, where do you find the courage How do you then manage your day when you know that it's an important day, you've had crap sleep, and you actually just want to go back in your bedroom and hide under a massive blanket and just stay home all day? It's those days, and how do you then pull yourself out of the bed and then get along on the day?
I would say for me, those days are rare. Do I have those days? Yes, I do, because I know when I'm at that stage, I must be pretty tired and I'm fatigued. Because even when I know I'm tired, I know I've got a lot of fuel in the tank. So if I feel like I cannot get out of bed, those days are really rare. Does happen. But for me, I know then I have to surrender and actually just go to sleep. Because I'm like, I'm not going to be good to use to anyone. But, every day I'm up and I'm doing things. But how do you push yourself for that? It goes back to the vision and why you're here, and not just giving into, I feel tired today. Everyone feels tired. Everyone's tired. If you're an adult and you're working, you're tired. There's not no one that's like, you know what? I feel exceptional today. Everyone's probably tired in the back of their mind. But I also think I don't let that narrative be written in my head. So don't acknowledge, okay, I'm tired. Okay, I've acknowledged that. But now it's like, okay, let's not keep harping on about it. Just then start to change how you are in your minds. Like, I am a bit tired, but you know what? Today's going to be okay. I'm going to have a great interview. I'm going to do these things. I also know that I don't need to solve world hunger today. So if it's tomorrow, it's tomorrow. So having a little bit of acceptance towards yourself. But as I said, those days are rare because I'm so motivated each day to get up and give 150% each day. I really care about what I do, and I'm really hungry and I'm really driven, and I really want all of the success I'm having. And I know that that's not going to happen if I'm laying in bed. No one's going to come down for the sky and say, here you go, KB. No, I got to make these opportunities happen. So I'm thinking if I'm resting in bed, then I'm cutting myself short, and it's going to take longer for me to get there if I'm just sort of, laying down. But equally, you need to give back to yourself. So when I know, hey, I'm really tired today and I can't do anything, I know that there's nothing left. And I have to stop myself to say, that's it, you need a break, because I'm not someone that often is like that. So it must mean that I am on zero energy at that point.
Makes sense. So those rare cloudy days, you practice affirmations, you practice grace to yourself, and that just gets you on with your day. Now, I'm certain many of the listeners of your podcast platform dream of breaking free from the traditional 8 to 5, if there's one that exists, or 8 to 6, or 8 to 8, whatever that is, and start their own venture. What advice would you give to those that are contemplating this bold move of starting out on their own?
Look, I'm going to start off with, it's hard. So if you're not willing to sacrifice, or you think you're going to get hours back in your day, stay in your job. There's so many of these people thinking, oh, I'll just do a little bit of the thing on the side. It doesn't work like that. No, you need to go all in to do it properly in order to have the time dedicated to thinking about how you're going to grow this side hustle. Because if your mind's in your day job, how can you give the attention that your side hustle needs to make it a full-time hustle? I think there are a lot of people that go into this naive and not thinking it's going to be a walk in the park, no matter if you have funding or if you bootstrap it. It's hard no matter what. I also think that you can't have it all of the time. So you have to sacrifice. I've definitely sacrificed a lot in my life, whether it's holidays, whether it's seeing certain friends' things or weddings or whatever it is, because I knew I had to work, or I couldn't, afford to go because I had to invest it back into my business. Those are the sacrifices. And there's people out there that don't think that you need that. And that's fundamentally flawed. And it's something that I always try to tell people, that this is the real and the raw side of being an entrepreneur, that it's hard and it's lonely and it's tough. So if you're not prepared for that, stay in your job. But what I will say is I'm not going to hold anyone back. I'm going to support someone. If they say, hey, KB, I want to do this thing. I have gone out of my way for so many different people out there in the industry, in this country and other countries, because of course I'm going to support someone that wants to do their own thing. Because who am I to say, oh, you can't do that? I never think like that. I tell them the reality of how tough it is, and it's a hard road, but it's a rewarding road at the same time. And I think that have a good idea, have a really great network. People aren't going to buy your stuff immediately. It's going to take time. Rome wasn't built in a day. It could take years. Depends on what you're doing, especially if you're doing something different to what you were originally doing. You're not known for that. And I always try to say that time is something that is, you have to be patient with it. And people want everything now because we're in this world where we get everything now, but that's not the reality of how you build a sustainable business. You might build a business and make quick money quickly, but have you made the right decisions strategically? Perhaps not. So I think that if you want to do it, then you go ahead and do it. But know that these are the things that are going to be up against you. And if you're prepared to take that risk, then do it. But what are you waiting for then? As I was saying to someone the other day, I was like, why are we having this conversation? If you want to do it, go out and do it. Put your money where your mouth is and do it. Don't just sit there and say, oh, well, I hate my job and my boss sucks. I'm not into the victim mentality. If you hate your job, quit, get another one. If you want to start a business, start it. I know it sounds so basic, but so many people are held back by these fabricated views and what their mum's, cousin's, daughter's, neighbor thinks of them. Who cares? Once you get to a state where you realize that no one really thinks about you, you feel liberated.
That's so true, man. So the secret was be patient, be persistent, find your why so that it helps you get through the tough days. But end of the day, it's hard, it's lonely, and it's tough is how I'd summarize it.
Their view on doing this sometimes is a bit skewed. So I'm just like, okay, this is the real reality of it. If you're okay with these things, go right ahead. Because you're going to be challenged. And I mean, like Jay, I'm a really hard worker and I'm really resilient, and it's challenged me to the core of my soul. It still drives me at the end of the day because it's that vision that I'm chasing, and I know I'll get there. But I also know, even when I started this thing, I said for 5 years, I'm probably not going to see any real dividend. I was prepared for that. And I didn't factor in COVID and all these other things and wars and recessions. Didn't factor any of that in. But I knew for 5 years, I'm going to have to work my guts out before I start seeing any real return.
That makes sense. Now, I've got a question from our dear friend Neil Pansoria. How do you deal with critiques and also people that doubt your abilities?
I think no matter who you are, someone's always going to criticize you. You're not going to make everyone happy. And I think if you're trying to make everyone happy, you're not really being true to yourself. That's why I love people who polarize people, because I'm like, they're just being true to themselves and they don't really care. I think, again, I do hear what you're saying. I've been criticized a lot back in the day on social media, people doubting me. If it's someone that you really don't know, it's just some random person, like, why does it matter? They don't really know you. They're looking at you through a keyhole. The other thing is there could be merit to what someone says. We're not perfect. I know for a fact I'm not perfect. I don't do everything right. So if there's someone that's giving me free feedback, take it. If there's merit to the comment, I take it and then let the other stuff go. That took me years to know that. It's very easy for me to say that now. I know what it feels like. But also, someone was saying to me, would you listen to someone you wouldn't take advice from? And the answer is no. Because everyone's going to have an opinion and they're entitled to it. Doesn't mean it's valid. But that's a journey. And that's something when I'm sitting up here and you're listening to it, oh, that seems obvious, KB. Yeah, it is. But once you get to that point where I know for sure, people are going to criticize me. The more you go up the chain, the more people are going to criticize you. So I've just accepted that the bigger that my profile gets, the company gets, the more people are going to criticize me, the more people are going to have an opinion. Like the amount of things that people have written to me, which really are trivial, is off the charts. Of people offended by things I've said, people offended by my clothing, people have been absolutely critical by my voice, by everything you can imagine, Jay. But then I'm like, well, I am who I am. I'm just going to keep doing it. I'm just going to keep showing up. And that's their problem. And the fact that someone was willing to waste their existence on writing something that's awful and horrible, that's on them. Like that, you're miserable. If I don't have anything nice to say, I just don't say it. Why would I waste my day writing something awful to someone to make them feel bad? I don't feel better about myself. I don't do that. And if I am going to say something constructive, I'm very mindful about the language that I use because words are hurtful towards people. And so I think that, again, it's hard, especially when you're working in a company and someone's like, oh, why do you think that person can do that? I get it. I think working for myself, I'm a lot more removed from those water cooler conversations. And I think it's something that I'm going to need to continue as well, because I know that, like, you know, haters are always going to hate no matter who you are. But it's also important to get the right input from people that you do trust and people that you would take advice from. Those are the people that you listen to. And again, like I said, if there's a bit of merit in something that someone says, take it and then move on. But don't sit there for one whole year worrying about that, because that person's moved on. They've gone about their day. They've said some awful comment, then they've moved on. They're on to something else then. So that's the way you've got to approach it as well.
Yeah, I feel sorry for what you've gone through, mate. But you're right, everyone's entitled to an opinion and you can't make everyone happy. The other point that you made, which I really liked, was how people on social media see you from a keyhole and they only know what they know through that keyhole. They haven't really lived a day in your life and wouldn't know what you're going through or what you're experiencing or how good or bad things are. So
and people are going through their own thing as well. Like, I don't know, people are triggered by certain things. I mean, there's probably times in my life that someone said something and I've reacted because I was triggered. Maybe I was going through some breakup or something had happened. There was something going on in my life that some random person literally does nothing, but something they've said or done or whatever has triggered me. 100%. Everyone's like that. So I also think it's their stuff. It's not my stuff to own. That's another way that I look at it. Someone was upset because I wore sunglasses one day. Like, really? That's fine. But I'm not going to stop being who I am to serve someone else's opinion of me.
God, Karissa, I'm really upset with you for wearing those sunglasses while I was talking to you. Anyways.
Like, I've seen it all, Jay. Like, I've seen it all. I've heard it all.
Well, it's strange. It is what it is. We've got a rapid fire round that consists of a few questions that have been sent by a dear friend, Tulin Sevgen. So, if you were to describe yourself in 3 words, what would those 3 words be?
Hardworking, loyal, resilient.
Now, what are the 3 apps that have helped you stay organized and on top of your game?
The notes in my phone to get it out of my head and into something. Gmail, so making sure that, you know, I'm always disseminating my comms effectively. And then I think, lastly, maybe reminders on my phone to make sure I'm doing something. I'm going to get back to someone, I've got to call someone, because the velocity now of people that I speak to is a lot higher. And I never want someone to feel that I forgot about them.
What are you most excited about at work at the moment?
Okay, so I'm most excited, and hopefully by the time this is published, bringing out a new KBI.media site. Whole thing's being revamped. The architecture's, you know, has a very thought out process. I'm excited for the new version of the podcast, as well as I'm excited now through the companies I'm working with, whether I'm hosting their events, emceeing, hosting their roundtables, working with them in terms of the engagement. Those things are really exciting. Like, really out there on the front line, those things are really exciting for me.
Last one. What has been the most satisfying part of your journey so far?
Oh, my goodness. I think sometimes when at an event and I've got my own logo there behind me, and it's something that I looked back through a notebook when I was really young, like 20, like even not 19 years old, and I started to map out what I wanted. Now, the logo wasn't the same, but me having my own company and having that vision for myself, knowing that I've delivered on that vision, I think is pretty cool.
It is really cool. Now, we could go on for hours, but let's wrap up with the last question. As someone who has achieved remarkable success, what message would you like to share with the audience of your podcast platform about pursuing their dreams, becoming resilient, and embracing the journey, no matter how challenging it may seem?
I think I'm only scratching the surface of where I want to go and what I want to achieve, because I don't see myself as successful. I just see myself as someone who kept showing up over the years, and then it led me to this level. I think you just got to keep showing up. Like, if you're tired and you don't feel like, too bad, show up. If you want that success, no one's going to give it to you. I think that I'm not a big sports person, but what I respect in sport is the craft, and there's something, you know, maybe I should have touched on earlier. They're doing reps. They are the last person to leave when they're practicing and training. That's the way I see success. I'm the first person in, last person out always. I'm the one on a Friday that's doing reps because I really value the success, and I know that I can't just do it by just clocking off and just, had a long day today. Unfortunately, for a while in any business, there won't be that work-life balance. It will be a little bit out of kilter, but, it does correct itself, and there'll be times when you'll be more balanced on either end. But I think for me, I know that I'm committed to my craft. If you're committed to what you're doing, you always want to get better. So that Kaizen theory, getting better 1% each day. That is really important that I don't know if enough people think about. Being consistent, showing up every day, even when you don't feel like it. Those are the things that go into that overall success. Building a brand takes years. And I sort of even set out on this quest with, it's going to take me 20 years to probably get to where I want to get to. And I'm okay with that. Of course, am I impatient? Yes. Do I get annoyed sometimes? Yes, absolutely. But I know, okay, well, I'm 5-6 years into this now. I'm just getting started because that was just the warm-up period. So I think in order to have that resilience, I think that going through tough times does shape who you are, and it does build that character because then you are capable of doing something. I do believe in what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And it might not be beneficial in that moment. But when you look back and you're like, I'm really glad that thing happened because now I know more about X or Y. And now I'm stronger to know how to deal with this problem or this situation. I mean, there are so many things. It's probably not even enough to get through on this whole podcast. But those are the things that are really important, which has really been all I've done. I haven't done anything spectacular. There's nothing that unusual that I've done, but I've been consistent and I've showed up and I have evolved what I'm doing. And I think that those are the lessons learned that people need to take away. So where you start to where you end up is going to fundamentally change. And there's going to be people with you on your journey when you start. There's going to be people that you pick up along the way. And there's going to be maybe different people by the time you finish this journey. But I don't actually know when my journey will finish because there's so many things that I want to do. And, this is just the start. And I feel like I'm so there's so much hunger for me to do more, so much energy for me to do more. And I want to do more because that's what drives me at the end of the day. I even think people have joked around saying what are you going to be doing at 70? I'll still be working. That's what keeps your mind sharp. And, it gives me a sense of purpose that I'm really driven by my work, maybe more so than others. And maybe that is a not so great thing about me. But that to me, that's just who I am, and that's the core of myself. And I'm just going to continue to show up each day and continue to get better at my craft. And the other thing is as well, going back to just building a brand for a moment, having respect for your audience. So many people go out there and they post stuff, but they don't respond to people. I do. I take the time to respond. And I think that that's what helps build an engaged audience, not just posting and ghosting. Taking a time to respond to each person's comment thoughtfully, not just so generically. And that's something, especially back in the day, that I used to stay up to 2 a.m. responding to people because it was important for me that people's respect and I earned their trust. And even the other thing I'd like to add to this as well, Jay, even on my podcast, I'm never late for my podcast. And if I know I've got back-to-backs, I always message the person that I'm interviewing or their PR person. I say, hey, I'm just on another podcast. If I'm 1 or 2 minutes late, that's why. I have respect for people, but then equally because I have respect for people, that comes back to me and then people respect me back.
That's so true. Thank you for sharing those nuggets, Gabby. And I'm so glad to have witnessed your journey from the very beginning. So the key sort of things that you shared were more around keep showing up, getting better 1% every day is important, be consistent. And when you have tough days, just think about sun is going to shine again tomorrow, and let's just take one day at a time.
Well, I think the other thing that I'll add is getting around the right people. A lot of my friends are either really senior or they're entrepreneurs like me. We've got something in common. So if someone's not supporting you, get rid of them. Next. Don't be around those people. I've got nothing but people that support me. Look, that's taken some time. But if someone's not supporting you, there's no point in having them around and in your circle and in your psyche. And that whole, the whole 5 friends thing, that's a serious thing. When I look around the people who I'm around, they're operators. I want to be around operators. I don't want to be around people that are like, oh, the earth's a horrible place. I want to be around people who are positive, that are doing things, that are getting up and actually making a difference in the world. And I don't want these victim mentality people around me. I want people that get up and got a sense of drive in their life.
100%. If you keep complaining about where you're at and you're not moving at all, then it's not going to change your life. You will just find another thing to complain about tomorrow and another thing the day after. So it just defines how you see problems and challenges in life.
I'm a walker, not a talker. If you want to talk a big game, I expect you to play a big game. And there's a lot of people out there that are not doing that. Show me in the black and white what you've done. I don't care about what you got to do. Show me what you've done, then we can have a conversation. And those are the real people that are in there in the trenches doing stuff each day.
And there you have it, folks. A captivating conversation with the incredible Karissa Breen, a true force to be reckoned with in the tech and cyber world. From an inspiring journey to resilience and creating an impressive marketing and media empire, Carissa's wisdom and passion have shined through our conversation today. To all those listeners who made the time to tune in, one of my key takeaways is that when you back your dreams with consistent hard work, the possibilities are endless. Embrace the challenges, stay resilient, and the journey will be its own reward. As we close this episode, let's thank KB for sharing her insights and experiences. If you found inspiration in this conversation, be sure to connect with KB to continue the dialogue. She's an absolute legend, and please make the time to tune into KB Cast. Until next time, stay curious, stay courageous, and keep chasing your dreams.
Thanks for tuning in. For more industry-leading news and thought-provoking articles, visit kbi.media to get access today.
This is KBcast, the voice of cyber.